Pump it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Oh, come on, come on.
With Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with Trae.
This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peeps that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your guest host, Omari Salisbury, filling in all this week for my buddy Trae Holiday, who has a well-deserved time off. Trae is going to be back next week, though, and I already saw the calendar schedule for next week, man. It's jam-packed. She has very excellent guests lined up. I got some good ones, too, this week, though. You know what I'm saying? Nothing to scoff at. But want to circle back around. You know, I signed off yesterday, and it all went blank. So here's what I was saying if you were watching yesterday, is go forward in your purpose. Go forward in your humanity. See, now I got it back, right? Now you're going to hear that twice because if I can hold on to it, so I would sign out today. Speaking of today, though, we're going to get right into it because we got a lot to talk about with Dr. Jason Clark. He's the Executive Director of Northwest Credible Messenger. And if you guys have been paying attention across the Converge platform, which I know you have, especially on our shows, Back to Besa, spotlighted the Credible Messenger organization quite a few times, their different programs, the organization itself, but then also the barber and beauty shop program, which was the peer counselor, which is pretty dope. And we'll talk more about that, and we'll actually have a video that we're going to show you. But you know, what better place? I know, at least for me, I go to the barber shop. I ain't got much, but you know what I'm saying? I go to the barber shop, and that still is the place kind of where you're talking about what's going on with you and talking about what's going on with in your life. And the Northwest Credible Messenger rolled out a program to have the barbers and beauticians be certified peer counselors. So instead of just listening, which is cool. I don't want to discount listening because sometimes that might be the only place someone can listen. But beyond listening, they're able to offer resources and potential next steps and things like that. So really excited to have Dr. Clark in the building today. You know, we've formulated this relationship with the Northwest Credible Messenger over time, and the relationship is really kind of built on the results. That's why I really like what's going on there with the Credible Messenger. So what we're going to do is something a little bit different here today. I actually want to play this segment. This is the first story that we did on the Northwest Credible Messenger work, and this was me, Eric Calligraphy, and actually Paul Sanders, who's the creative director there, with a lot of this footage and the story that you'll see. And this story right here, it went across Converge. It also went on Back to Base on Fox 13 and also on our national platform on Fox Soul, because we were so impressed with the work that they're doing there. So we're going to play this. Then we're going to go to a commercial break. And when we come back, I'll be talking to Dr. Clark.
Northwest Credible Messengers is a consortium of dreamers, people who have lived experience, whether in a system, in community, in anything that's caused a barrier in their life. We believe in positive youth justice, so really thinking about that healing aspect of working with young people and community members and not really thinking about what's happened to them, but the potential within them.
I think it really provided a space for me to heal. And so having the opportunity to do trainings, do outreach and engagement across the state for our consortium, I believe that barbershop and beautician behavioral health project definitely impact violence just due to the nature of the work that's already happening in those spaces. Barbershops and beauticians believe already do peer work, and so it just hasn't been documented and the stories haven't been told.
The barber and beauty shop behavioral health process is a community of practice where we're tapping into the brilliance of our communities through beauty and barbershops to really elaborate what love looks like, what support looks like. It's culture, it's agency, it's relationships that produce results. It's walking alongside somebody to develop even more meaning, but really it's tapping into the aspirational thinking of those participants from trusted community leaders who've been through a process of training to really understand what love looks like in our communities.
A part of the Barber Beauty Behavioral Shop project, I would say that I've learned how invaluable, once again, that it is in order to engage with your clients in a space that you have the proper tools to analyze and also help them create some form of individual service plan in effort for them to reach that milestone goal. Because if there aren't any objectives, then no one's going to be able to find a way to solve whatever their problem is.
I'm born and raised here in Skagit County, formerly incarcerated, gang infected my whole life. Just came home 5 years ago after doing 10 years, and now I help lead our local prison and gang reintegration. I'm a mentor with the Our Journey program. I think the way Credible Messenger peer support has benefited the model here in Our Journey is helping empower us to believe in ourselves, empower us to see potential.
Credible Messengers means hope to me. This work will impact violence in our communities by intervention. Before there's anything to prevent, we're intervening and meeting people where they're at before it becomes something that needs to be prevented or something that will involve them in the criminal justice system. Meeting the person before their behaviors become violent.
In my area, I live in the Rainier Beach area. There's a lot of youth violence, guns, all types of things that are happening. So I live in the same community. I can offer support with the middle schools, high schools, even some families that have been affected by whatever gun violence or violence that is happening in the community, that I can offer support, especially with the certification.
But also understanding the things that our people navigate. I think oftentimes when you look at the gaps in the determinants of health that we talked about that are negative in our communities, people don't really understand what somebody who comes from a marginalized community might navigate on a day-to-day basis. So that Healing-Centered Engagement Practitioner certification really breaks that down in a way.
The community is needing a space where they don't have to perform and they can just be. The training was excellent. The information was just super impactful. They gave me language, questions, how to have more open-ended questions to actually draw people. It was impactful information that you really knew, this is really going to help people.
Supporting individuals with different problems, just really learning how to listen, active listening, but just being able to be there and support them through the situations that they're experiencing. I believe this work will definitely impact, the violence in the communities by giving people an outlet and a space to come to again, just having that safe place to open up.
This credential really lends me the language to what I've been doing, and also other techniques and ways of being to help expand my skill set. I appreciate Credible Messengers for this opportunity. I did not know that there was a process that you could go through to become certified in the state of Washington. Having a credential, a certified credential, solidifies you as a professional, right? It gives you credibility, and it gives you other means to be able to access resources. So I really appreciate Credible Messengers for making this available.
I believe introducing these elements to the participants here in the beauty industry and in the beauty field, as well as right here in the shop, it allows for us to recognize that this is a discussion that we should have. And this would impact so many people that are dealing with not having had a voice for such a long time.
All right. So that's the Northwest Credible Messenger. That was the very first story that we did. We were really proud of it. And actually, after going down there to the offices on Federal Way and, seeing a lot of stories from across the state of Washington, to be honest with you, from, right there in Federal Way, Fife, Milton, Spokane, Skagit County, and some of everything else that you see right there. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm chopping it up with Dr. Jason Clark. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Get ready for the 2025 Bullet Lecture in American History at the Seattle Public Library Central Branch. On Thursday, December 4th, Eve L. Ewing, author of Original Sins, will share her perspective on the American educational system and how it has shaped our shared history. Reserve your spot today.
Hey, 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 you
once, you ain't the same.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Acts on Stage presents Detroit 67. This award-winning story chronicles a family having a house party while the city is on fire, and a country dancing to the new sound as it finds itself in the dust of one of the most explosive periods in American history. It seems like it's all coming together and falling apart.
You talking that slick talk with me when I've been drinking?
I'm not trying to cause you any trouble.
You've been this whole time as a bunch of trouble.
What the hell you doing in Detroit?
This Seattle debut runs November 14th to the 23rd at Acts on Stage Theater. Get down with the get down of Detroit 67.
Son of a Nutcracker! Elf the Musical sparkles at Fifth Avenue Theater. Follow Buddy from the North Pole to New York City as he searches for his dad, who just might be on Santa's naughty list. With laughter, dazzling tap dancing, and plenty of holiday cheer, Elf the Musical is the perfect outing for your family. Don't miss the holiday spectacular. Elf the Musical at Fifth Avenue Theater, November 28th through December 28th. Get your tickets today at fifthavenue.org.
What's up, Seattle? It's your boy Cuddy here tapping in just to let you know that no matter where the place to be, King County Metro will get you to where you need. It could be a ride to the airport, whether you're taking off or touching down, King County Metro, or a game. So save yourself time with traffic and get into places like Westlake Center, Pike Place Market, or even the waterfront. Rather by light rail or bus, choose King County Metro. It's the only way to go.
All right, welcome back to the Day with Trae, and I'm joined now by my good friend, the Executive Director of Northwest Credible Messenger, Dr. Jason Clark. Welcome to the Black Media Matters studio.
Thank you for having me. What's going down?
Hey, man, you know, it's all about you. We actually had your colleague, the Creative Director of Northwest Credible Messenger, Paul Sanders, last week, and, you know, we were talking to him, we were like, because, you know, he's a cinematographer, videographer, a hella creative guy. And we were like, well, do you want to talk a lot about the Credible Messenger, or you going to save it for Dr. Clark? He said, no, man, I'm going to save it for Dr. Clark. So before we get going, maybe you can tell everybody, what is Northwest Credible Messenger?
Northwest Credible Messenger is a community capacity building organization. When you think of things like healing, wellness in Black and brown communities, policy advocacy, because we believe, you know, in not just investing in programs, but shaping policies, right? That's true transformative change in our communities. And then really thinking about like what capacity building looks like. When we say capacity building, it might be like preparing leaders to facilitate groups for young people in need. It might be supporting the development of program opportunities to provide reentry alternatives. It might be something like the Beauty and Barbershop Behavioral Health Project, where we trained 116 barbers and beauticians in 10 counties around the state to provide community-based, culturally responsive behavioral health services. So we're really looking at things from the perspective of like, how do we support our community to be the resource, right? And thinking about what wellness looks like, thinking about what, you know, shaping policies look like, and then, you know, being most effective through that capacity building aspect.
Right. And although the video touched on it, I think it's really cool. The barber and beauty shop program is really dope. Excuse me, is really dope. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about that, man, that program, because it's something that just kind of made sense, and it fits so perfectly. Like I said, I go, my guy Dev around the corner, you know what I'm saying? I'm always sitting there talking to him about something. You feel me?
That's where it happens.
Yeah.
I think for us, it was like looking at that, the reality of the stigma of mental health and wellness in our communities. So when we looked at that process and had an opportunity to partner with the Department of Commerce, it was like, where are the spots that, you know, Black and brown folks are going for their wellness? It's the salon, it's the beauty shop. When you hear, you know, people talk about how they came up and being in a barbershop or being in a salon and all the things that are happening, for us it was the concept of like building a structure to be able to put the tools, or, you know, to give barbers and beauticians the training and have the tools to be able to, you know, push people's needs a little bit further, provide resources, etc. If somebody came in there, you know, talking about a relationship, you know, the barber and beautician might know 12 steps before the divorce happens. So what type of resources do we give them to provide support to that person in that moment, right? It might be a further connection to therapy, which we've done in different areas. Shout out to London in Pierce County, who provided some therapeutic supports for some of the participants in that program. But what it really looked like was providing training, and we're thinking about like how we amplify the workforce of, Black and brown behavioral health professionals in our state. So they became certified peer support specialists. That was a huge project when you think about it, because we had a lot of money that was pass-through dollars. So people weren't just getting the training, they were getting a livable wage for providing the services, but also resources to provide whatever those needs were for the people who were, coming into the shops, processing what they were going through. I think it was a huge opportunity for us to really say, like, this is something that can work. When you think about the lack of access and the lack of opportunity for mental and behavioral health in our communities, we were able to transform that. You think of like the proof of concept, the pilot that we did. We had a year and a half to work on that project, but we probably spent about 6 months in direct service. And across 10 counties, there were 3,000 people who received services in those 6 months. So when you think about that, like, just think of like the opportunity to grow the capacity for that with future funding that comes from different state departments. I think for us, when I say proof of concept too, like, it wasn't just like, hey, we did this project and we evaluated and these were the success metrics that we had. We thought about, what does the future of that look like? So how do we become a behavioral health agency? How do we utilize that behavioral health agency to then take the state certifications that people got to be able to access Medicaid to bill for services in the future? So we really thought about, like, how do we use these funds to create a sustainable avenue, right?
I'm really glad that you guys were thinking like that,
Yeah.
forward focused, and be able to set it up for something to be sustainable.
Yes,
And also
yes.
something to not give a fish today, but teaching people how to fish.
Come on.
Which is really important. And at the core of it, just in the simple takeaway for me, is that you've always, the barbershop and beauty salon's always been this place of caring and understanding and everything else. You guys have put the tools in people's hands, because like we said before, a lot of times it's just the listening. It's like, man, I feel you, dog. Stay encouraged.
Yeah,
That's what you expect to hear.
Yes.
But now it's like, oh, say word. Man, if you having a problem with your rent, you know what, actually, let me send you like 5 different resources. They might be able to help you out. Or, man, you're going through it at home. Man, I've been there, family. Here's somebody you might be able to talk to. Sometimes you just got to bring it down a bit. And for the barbers and beauticians to now have that toolkit that they can open up,
Yes.
to be able to take it to the next level, where the conversation doesn't just stop at their ears or their heart and them hearing whoever's in their chair, but being able to open that toolkit and guide them for further resource.
Yeah, and I do want to give a shout out to the Washington State Department of Commerce for that project, because there were so many different projects and resources funded to the CRP that they could access through this program. Not just like the wealth of knowledge that the barbers and beauticians had in each of the regions that we were working in, that they generated their own resources, but they had other resources to direct people to through the Department of Commerce. So it was a really dope project. I would say, super successful, really set us up for, what the future looks like.
Yeah, just a thought. I know you guys already think through these kind of things, but man, if you guys wrap the app around that.
You know what? We were actually reaching out to some folks about that, and I'm not going to say any names. It didn't fall through, but yeah, that's a concept that we're already thinking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like an app, like, man, here you go. And then, even once you leave a barbershop and privacy of your own home or whatever, here's this and that, everything else.
Telehealth, yeah. Culturally responsive telehealth.
He's like, all
That's
right.
real. That's real. We got to think about the future, man.
So I actually printed questions out for you. A lot of times Big O tries to be too cool for school up in here. But hey, I like to tell people I'm smart enough to know what I don't know at times, right?
Come on.
So
I respect that.
First question here is around healing-centered engagement. Let's say your work is grounded in healing-centered engagement. Can you elaborate on the core principles of HCE and how this framework fundamentally changes the approach to behavioral health compared to more traditional deficit-based models?
Yeah, those deficit models are always like, well, what happened to you? And I think with the healing-centered engagement, it's more of like, what are the opportunities within? You know what I mean? Oftentimes we look at like the deficits or the barriers, but I think with HCE, we're the healing centered engagement. We're looking at like what are the hidden strengths, you know what I mean, and how do we pull those out? So when you think of like how we get to those domains, culture is imperative. You know, knowledge of self, like understanding your culture. Sometimes the young people, man, even the adults that we're working with, like they navigate subcultural, you know, communities in such a way that like they don't really get tapped into their true culture. So culture is the main part. Agency, right? Like working with your peer and really developing that sense of agency so you can make those things happen. So you're thinking of the domains of karma, right? So our relationships. You know, you said it earlier. We always say relationships produce results. It could be positive or negative, and I think for us, we understand that take on it. So we really want to think about, like, how do we pull you out of those toxic relationships and then introduce you to the nourishing relationships, reconnect you to your community, resources, etc. Meaning, like, what does it mean to have a meaningful life? Like, how do you drive a higher purpose? And I think for us, it's like really walking through this process with people until we get to that last piece, which is aspiration, you know, and the power of possibility. You know, we always say there's power in unity, but there's always, you know, also the power of possibility. So through this process, it's like really working with people in those domains to kind of like pause, slow down, like look at the things that are happening to them, really try to draw out those strengths, connect them to resources, strengthen relationships, and give them some goals, right? Like work with them, walk them through that process. The healing to hope model that we developed, it's not about like just giving people a fish. Like you said, it's teaching them how to fish, but walking them through that process. And oftentimes it's like, it starts with us like doing for, right? At first we have that conversation, and then we do with, and we have that conversation, and then we watch them do and walk it out with them.
Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah.
You actually just kind of hit on this, but Northwest Credible Messenger operates under the belief that relationships produce results.
Come on.
How have you seen this philosophy manifest in statewide behavioral health consortium? What specific community outcomes are you seeing?
Man, the specific community outcomes that we're seeing, I think one of the most imperative is that there's a ton of black men who are accessing behavioral health services, which you know is, you know, not happening in our state and nationwide, right? And I don't have the evaluation. If you go to our website, you can actually look at the evaluation that we did on that project, but there's so many different outcomes. I think the access to services is the main thing, right? Like what we're really trying to do is connect people to those resources. I would say even pushing it a step further, outcomes of that project that we've developed through relationships is creating a evaluation on this project. I don't think a lot of people really think about how do you measure the results of your program. Generally, when people do something, it's like, hey, we're good at doing this. We connect with people. We're seeing something from them. We wanted to take it one step further. We hired an evaluation firm. They really kind of like coached us through the process of, you know, navigating the barriers that, you know, sometimes we create for ourselves, or that we don't really realize in the work, and kind of driving us towards opportunities. And what that did was it helped us to strengthen relationships with different systems that, you know, may have not had structures in place to implement projects like we were looking at. And through those systems, we've been able to develop, you know, strategic relationships with the community partners that we're working with to help them access future funds to be able to do that work in different places around the state. So I would say the relationships that have produced results is, one, building bridges between communities and systems, building bridges between mental wellness and behavioral health and communities, and just creating future opportunities. You know, right now we're working on another behavioral health project in juvenile institutions statewide. So, you know, that relationship that we had, we actually took barbers and beauticians into one of the institutions at Echo Glen, and they seen the impact of what was happening with those young people. So right now we're working with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, their juvenile rehabilitation unit. And we got peer credible messengers in the institutions now, right, that are able to work with those young people 90 days before their release, and then in a transition into their release, so they, one, have that peer credible messenger, behavioral health services, but we're really thinking before they get released, like what are the things that they need and how do we get them connected to those resources. We don't just kick them out into community. Now we transition that warm handoff into credible messengers in community. Yeah.
Man, you guys are staying busy.
Yeah, that's a lot.
The discussion focuses on reimagining behavioral health from a cultural perspective. For our viewers What does it mean to offer culturally responsive care?
It's from those people who understand the transformation story, right? It's people with parallel experiences that really can articulate what it looks like not to have a war story. Like, I might relate to you on a certain level, but what have I done since that point? Like, what are the resources that I've accessed? What are the stories that I could tell you? Who are the people that I could connect you to? Like, what are the positive aspects of where I was and where I'm at now? So I think for us, it's really like, one, the tools that go into healing-centered engagement, right? The cognitive behavioral therapy, using the Washington State peer support model in a way that people who have experienced the same things that these participants have, but can say, hey, these are the things that work for me, or I've been to this training, I've been to this mode of therapy, I've been through this process. You know what I mean? I think for me, like, that's the culturally responsive piece that we're really seeing, is training people who have really shown initiative and want to create that type of change in themselves. It creates a ripple effect in community, if that makes sense.
All right. Last question here. As you build the infrastructure of community organizations, what's the most significant challenge you face in consulting with and changing existing systems to create more equitable opportunities for Black and brown leaders statewide?
I think it's the trust aspect, if that makes sense. Oftentimes there's a disconnect, and I refer to it as cultural collisions. It's almost like systems don't understand the language that community speaks. And how can this person in community that might not have the PhD or the MSW make an impact like the people that we're working with? And I think the thing that I would say is, it's like, somebody that comes from community understands what that looks like, knows how to navigate that. And with the training and tools that we're giving them, they really can push that process further. I would say the biggest barrier is, it's almost like policing, right? Like, if there's one police officer who makes a mistake, when somebody steals your granny stereo, you still call the police, right? So if there's somebody in community that makes a mistake, does that mean that all community is bad? It doesn't. And I think that there's a stigma in that sense, to where, sometimes in this line of work, somebody will make a mistake and they begin to look at, a lot of different segments of community as having the potential to make those mistakes. So what we're really thinking about is, like, what does it look like to develop those relationships that are strengthened, having those team meetings, but expanding them so it's not like a leadership team of, systemic executives, but it's like, hey, here's some community leaders. When we show up to a leadership team meeting with the State Department that we're working with, we're bringing those community leaders with us so they can understand what's really going to happen. You know what I mean? Giving them a breakdown of the program, talking about, the data, the evaluation, the outcomes that we've achieved from previous projects, and giving them opportunity to really get to know people, right? Like, we don't do the Zoom meetings. We'll come to you, right? Give us a couple hours. Let us sit with you. We'll bring food. You know what I mean? See who we are. Yeah.
I always like to say there's power in presence.
Come on.
100%. All right. Before we let you go, Dr. Clark, I want you to look at that camera right there, and you can let people know what you guys got going on and how they can catch up with Northwest Credible Messenger.
What do we got going on? You can catch Credible Conversations. That's our podcast where we're really trying to, like, have conversational dialogue around wellness in our communities. We talked about policy earlier. We got Angela Rye on the podcast coming out real quick. Tap into our YouTube channel. You can see it there. You can go link in with us, Northwest Credible Messenger on Instagram. It'll give you a little bio link, how to get to there. I would say that's probably our fun project right now. We're working on workforce development. So for us right now, we're pushing this process with interns and apprenticeships, working with local colleges and the SEIU 1199 Northwest, trying to formalize a structured process for peer credible messengers to have equitable wages in community. We started right now, we have 3 peer credible messengers. Our goal in the next 5 years is to expand across the counties that we have programming in. So 10 counties statewide. Hopefully it will be more. You can find us at King County Credible Messenger on Facebook. Like I just said, on Instagram, Northwest Credible Messenger, LinkedIn, Northwest Credible Messenger. Just tap in.
There it is. As I say, tap in, don't tap out.
Come on.
Dr. Jason Clark, thank you so much for taking the time, man. I really appreciate the work you guys are doing.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
All right, good stuff. We're going to take a quick break real quick. When we come back, we're going to wrap it up. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Hey friends, Victor Gordon here. You see the shots and you see the vibe. I gotta give a huge shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, Jordan Summers and Summers Media. Seriously, Jordan doesn't just take pictures, he captures the essence. Every time I step in front of that lens, I know it's gonna be a moment. If you're trying to get your right shots, the ones that truly stand out, hit him up and tell Jordan that Basa sent you.
Like a warm cup of tea, coffee, or your favorite bowl of soup, Washington Health Plan Finder is here for you. Whether you're exploring your options or need help finding a health insurance plan that meets your needs, you can count on us. Visit wahealthplanfinder.org today. Open enrollment begins November 1st and ends January 15th, 2026.
Get ready for the 2025 Bullet Lecture in American History at the Seattle Public Library Central Branch. On Thursday, December 4th, Eve L. Ewing, author of Original Sins, will share her perspective on the American educational system and how it has shaped our shared history. Reserve your spot today.
All right. Well, welcome back to The Day with Trae. My name is Omari Salisbury, filling in for Trae on a holiday. I just looked in the monitor. Let me turn my head in. Wearing all gray, I kind of I disappear into the chair. I just realized I was like a little kid over here, man. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? I'm filled in. Man, I'd like to thank our guest today, Dr. Jason Clark from the Northwest Credible Messenger, man. Make sure and tap in. That's our folks. They're really out here doing the work. Now, tomorrow, make sure and tune in. We got Gabe Galanda. That's my buddy, Gabe Galanda. We go way back. So we talking about, one, he's going to kind of give us an update of what's happening with the NWCM 306, man. He's been on that for over a decade. You know what I'm saying? Got some news, maybe some news people might not want to hear, but also some news that might encourage people to act and activate. Then also, like, this is general catch up with him to see what's happening. Also tapping in what's happening in the native space. Is this y'all's month? I think it's the native month. November's the native month. Hey, I wasn't just checking a box, by the way. That was just a homie. He just happens to be native. Anyways, look, we're going to get out of here. I got it down. Go forward in your purpose. Go forward in your humanity. And until tomorrow at 11 a.m., peace.